Hello YouTube and welcome to Other Things You Can Cut. Today I'm going to answer the question, how in the heck do these knives work? I've got my Dirac Delta here. I've already taken the screws off and taken the blade off track. Let's look inside and I'll show you exactly how these things work. I think it's remarkably fascinating and I just love it. I think the systems and the mechanisms inside these are incredible. So let's take the top off here. And there's a lot of things happening inside the chassis. And just looking at it, it's going to be confusing. Please ignore the running water in the background. I'm recording next to a pipe in my wall. I wish there was a way around it. Can't help it. Anyhow, first off, we've got this sled piece here, which houses the spring. This is what does all the work. This consists of two pieces connected to the spring here, as well as the sled itself. And there's a lot going on inside here as well. In order for this to function, an OTF needs to be able to fire out and then stop and not shoot straight out of the knife. And that's what this piece here does. If I go ahead and take this out, you see now that the blade can slide in and out freely. This piece here slides through this hole. And it sticks out here on the other side. So if I push it up, I can get this back inside. You can see the groove it sits in. Now I can't pull that out anymore. These pieces are very interesting. This one in particular, because the tang of the blade here pushes or holds this gate back. However, once you get a certain point, right before the edge starts, it goes back down, and you can actually see the serrations of my knife through that hole. How does this not dull the edge? And it's because Microtech was really smart with this. If I actually pull this piece out, there's a tiny spring. I hope I don't lose it. Alright. This tiny piece has a spring. Set that aside. Oh wow. It's actually punctured through my skin a little bit and is stuck to my finger. I probably won't lose it this way. I'll just keep it there. And notice here the cutout, which is right where the edge rides, but it's only wide enough for the edge to pass through. So when you get to the thicker tang of the blade, it pushes the gate back, which I think is really neat. This other gate down here does not have the same feature. It's just plain. I'll show you. Tiny spring. You can see this gate is plain, because this gate never actually comes in contact with the edge of the knife, so it doesn't need to be fancy. Let's see if I can put this back in. Here we go. I'll go ahead and put the other one back in as well. Alright, we got both of those gates back in place. So now, when the blade is deployed, it can't come out all the way and it can't go back down without this gate being pulled. Similarly, in a closed position, it can now open without this gate being pulled. I'm going to set it in between them for now as I go to put in our little spring assembly. This actually does a lot, and to illustrate what this does, I'm actually going to detach the spring so that I don't have to deal with it while I show how this functions. So I'll just go ahead and set this on as if there were a spring. So this piece, the sled, it slides back and forth as you move this slide. look here, the bottom of the slide, these two nubs here that fit inside of these holes here. So as you move the slide, you're actually moving this sled. And in the up position, it disengages the bottom lock. And in the down position, it disengages the top lock. This is necessary. Say we were going to fire this knife. So we'd pull it. This hook here actually hooks onto the bottom of the blade. So this is pulling on the blade directly. As we extend this, and we'll extend the spring that sits right here. So this spring would be extended. So now we've got pressure on the blade, but the blade cannot move because of this lock. So we pull the sled all the way up until this is disengaged. Then the built-up spring tension that is connected to this hook, that's connected to the blade, yanks this piece in, which then pushes our blade out. And there's enough force that it will pull all the way up, push past and open this gate here, and click, and then stop. Closing is very similar. Instead of being hooked to the blade, this piece has a little round end, a little curved end here, that hooks to the top of this stop pin. So that when it's time to retract the knife, we pull the slide down, which will... Oh, I'm trying to push this to move the slide. That's not going to work. I pull this down. It's going to disengage the top lock, which is stopping the blade from closing now that we're under spring tension. And then pop. It goes sucking back in, overcomes this lock, hits the back here. You can see it move, and clicks back into place. And that's how it works. I'm going to go ahead and add the spring now. Both these hooks are what move the blade. Alright, now we can put this piece back on. I'm going to slide this all the way to the top, slide the slide all the way to the top, and this will sit in just right. And now I'll pull this back on track. So if I pull this slide down, we are extending the spring and slowly overcoming this lock up here. And once it's overcome, that's the lock that's keeping the blade from going in. Then all of a sudden the spring tension releases and sucks the blade back in. And now this bottom lock is locked. So when we extend this slide again, we're putting it under spring tension, that hook that carries the blade, until the sled overcomes the lock down here, and then we can release that spring tension to fire the blade back out again. So that is how an OTF works. Now you know. I hope that information is helpful, or at least satiates your burning curiosity. I find that these tools are very, very fascinating, and I highly recommend them. They're very fidgety and fun. The nice ones like this Microtech are a little bit pricey, but I think they're worth the buy. Alright, that's how an OTF knife works. Thanks for watching.